So if you're like me, sometimes you like making impulse buys, and then a few weeks later, you're like, why the heck did I even buy this thing in the first place? If you're feeling this way with the Apple Watch, well, so did I. And in this video, I'd like to share a few minor tweaks that I made that really made the watch so much more useful and really changed how I use the device. The first tip that I want to share is that you should really be using the unlock your iPhone feature with your Apple Watch. This feature is really such a small change, but it's really a quality of life game changer and really makes a big difference in how you use your phone, especially if you use a mask all the time. For some reason, it's not enabled by default, but you literally just go into your settings on your iPhone, and then you enable unlock your iPhone with your Apple Watch. And as soon as it detects you're wearing a mask, instead of trying to do Face ID, it will automatically unlock it for you and you won't have to input your PIN. And it really helps save a lot of time throughout the day from having to input your PIN all the time. So that's my first simple tip that you should do that really has made it a lot more enjoyable to use my Apple Watch from day to day. So tip number 2 is that you should really play around and customize your watch face. Specifically, the part that I'm talking about is the complications part of the watch face, because you can really pick and choose what information your watch is going to tell you. And when you really go through it and tailor it to things that you find useful, you instantly find that the watch becomes a lot more useful to you. The way you do this is that you long hold your watch face, and then all of a sudden a bunch of different options will show up. There's a lot of really popular ones, like Meridian is one of the default ones, but the one that I find the most useful is actually called infographic, and it has 8 different complications that you can choose from. So it's got a lot of information at your fingertips. I would recommend going on some websites to check out which ones are popular, and then also just kind of going through it on your own time to figure out which ones are the most useful to you. But let me just show you really quickly the infographic one that I've been using. All right, so here's the infographic watch face. Sorry, it's a little hard to focus. But as you can see, I've got a lot of really cool stuff here that I like to use very frequently. So first of all, in this top corner here, I got a voice memo. So quick access to voice memo in case I want to record something while driving. I've also got the temperature, and it shows you the minimum and maximum temperature of the day. And then I also like having my heart rate there. So it literally just updates my heart rate automatically for me. And you do that by putting the heart at the top right here. I got a little decibel meter, which I find really useful because I really like knowing like how loud my situation is. I have a compass, kind of like those fancy watches. Got a little date, and if you click on it, it will bring up the calendar for you. So here you can see it brings up the calendar. Then a huge feature that I've been using is this timer in the bottom right, because I actually end up using a timer a lot. And when you use the timer in the bottom right, you have a quick 1-button access to the timer. And what's really cool is that you can see it counting down even when you're not in the timer app. So it saves you a lot of clicks if you use the timer frequently. And what I use this frequently for is when I'm working out with my roommate, Conan. And lastly, I like to have the activity rings down in the bottom here. Whoops. It's just nice to see your activity rings just from a quick glance. And there's all sorts of things that you can put on here. So again, you just long hold the watch face, and you see that it says infograph, and then you hit edit. And then all of a sudden you get all these complications that you can choose from. So for example, if I wanted to change the compass, I can just click on the compass here. And all of a sudden, I have all these different complications that can give me different types of information that I would find useful, or it could show me, a quick button to my messages if I tend to use the messages a lot. So lots of different cool things that you can use if you customize your watch face, and it instantly makes your Apple Watch so much more useful. My favorite ones, particularly for me, are the decibel meter, the heart rate calculator, and then the timer down on the bottom. And then also having the weather at the top is very useful as well. So again, I would play around, and number 1, find a watch face that you like and looks visually pleasing to you. And number 2, customize your complications to really provide the information and really change the way that you use the Apple Watch. And that's instantly going to make the Apple Watch a lot more useful for you. Tip number 3 is to practice using your Apple Watch more to respond to messages and reply to things rather than pulling out your phone. Because what I first noticed when I first started using my Apple Watch is I'd get that little notification on my wrist, I would take a look at it, and then I would instantly pull out my phone, which kind of defeats the purpose of having the watch in the first place. I think you really need to make a concerted effort to trying to use your watch. So responding to, purposely taking the effort to respond to messages on your Apple Watch instead of pulling out your phone to type something. And over time, as you get used to it, you'll find that it's actually a lot more convenient. Handwriting little replies is very quick on the watch. And then also I've found that the speech to text function is actually quite effective and actually a lot faster than typing on either your phone or on the watch. And so it's a handy little feature that once you start to force yourself to use it and you get some practice with it, then you'll really find that over time you build that skill and it becomes a lot more ingrained in your use of the Apple Watch. Okay, and tip number 4, and this is really kind of a simple one, but I really recommend going to your settings and changing the sounds and haptics. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do while I'm not facing you guys, but I would go to your settings and then go to the sounds and haptics. And once you get to sounds and haptics, I would turn your haptic alerts to prominent instead of default. And the whole reason that you got the Apple Watch is that you are not going to miss notifications. So it's actually very big to change this to prominent. So that's tip number 4. And finally, tip number 5 is really just to spend 5 minutes reorganizing your apps so that all of your most used applications are right in the center when you click on the crown. So if you click on the crown right here, you'll see that you have a ton of different apps and they're all scattered everywhere. And what you really want to do is all the apps that you use the most frequently, you should cluster them right towards the center. It only takes 5 minutes to do, but it really makes it so much easier because you're not going to be struggling to find stuff that you actually are finding useful on your watch. And it just makes things so much easier. Like if I want to do a workout, I know that it's going to be on that first screen when I pull up the apps, and I'm not going to have to go scrolling around looking for it because otherwise it's just so disorganized. So really just taking 5 minutes to center all those important and most used apps is really going to change and make your use of the Apple Watch so much more efficient and effective. So those are my 5 tips for making the Apple Watch more useful in your life. I hope they were helpful, and I know some of them are very simple tweaks, but they actually make a really big difference in how the Apple Watch fits into your life. So what are your tips for making the Apple Watch more useful? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you have any questions or other suggestions, and I'd really love to hear what you guys think on how you guys make your Apple Watches more useful. And thanks for watching.